Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Today's video, I'm going to reveal the 10 worst movies that I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, I've seen lots of bad movies. In fact, it feels like every year, movies that get nominated for Best Picture are some of the worst movies I've ever seen. And there are a couple Oscar movies in my list, in fact. But, yeah, these are just movies I thought were just either incredibly boring or just really cringy to watch and just hurts my brain. When I watch them, like my brain just is in pain from watching it. It's those kind of movies for me. And of course, there's a lot of movies that are really bad that I haven't gone around to, like Battlefield Earth I've never seen. Jack and Jill, I know is a really terrible movie. Norbit. You probably go down a list of Cats. I've only seen parts of Cats. And even then, that movie didn't look as bad as some of these movies. So there's definitely some really bad movies out there that I haven't really quite seen yet, that aren't on this list. And I don't try to watch bad movies necessarily. These are ones that for whatever reason I thought, well, what the heck, I'll check this out. It's on Netflix, or it was a movie. Sometimes it's a movie that I thought was going to be really good, and I went in the theater and saw it, and I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. Or of course, sometimes it's Mike from Did You See That? Sometimes he makes me watch these bad movies as well, so I can blame him for at least one of these, if not a couple of these. and some of them are just movies that critics really liked, so I watch them, thought, oh, critics like this, and I go, oh my God, critics are terrible critics. Yeah, so of course everybody has their own thoughts of what's a bad movie and what's not. I think most of these movies people would agree are bad movies. A couple of them, some people might go, oh no, that's a really good movie. But this is just my taste in it. So yeah, let's get into it. 10 worst movies of all time. Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing well on this Monday afternoon. I hope you had a good weekend. As for me, it was kind of terrible because I saw my KU Jayhawks just get pounded in the NCAA tournament. So now I'm just waiting for football season to start. See my Chiefs win their Super Bowl, which would really make me happy. But yeah, so today I just finished talking about the ranking 95 best pictures. I'm going to get into my top 100 favorite movies here pretty soon. But before we do that, let's get into the 10 worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And I say that there's a lot of really bad movies that could have made this list. So it's kind of hard, actually. I kind of made this list and went, what are the 10 really, really bad ones? Because I can make a top 100 worst movies I've ever seen, probably. In fact, I can make a top 10 just in the last couple of years. Have been some really bad ones. But yeah, these are the ones that really stood out to me personally. So number 10, we're going to go with a movie I actually saw in the movie theater. And it was a movie that I was highly anticipating, a movie that I thought was going to be one of the best comedies of the year. It had a good formula to it, and that was Holmes and Watson, which came out, I don't know, the last 5 years or so. Starring the great Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. And it's of course, I don't know if you want to call it a spoof, or it's a comedic take on, of course, Sherlock Holmes. And that's why it's called Holmes and Watson, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, whatever. And so to me, I'm a big fan of Sherlock Holmes stuff. I do love like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies. I watched the BBC Sherlock Holmes. I like quite a bit. I even like there's an American version called Sherlock or something. I can't remember what it's called now, but that was pretty good too. Yeah, I actually really enjoy these type of movies. And then when I heard that, oh, they're going to do a comedic take on it, I'm like, yeah, this would be, I don't know if we've seen a real great comedic take on the Sherlock Holmes story. So it seems like it's right for a good, comedic take. And then you put Will Ferrell, who's probably my favorite comedic actor today. I mean, one of my favorite of all time. I'm a huge Will Ferrell fan since the Saturday Night Live days. And he put in John C. Reilly, who's also really good, and he's been great lately. And also the duo has been a great duo. I mean, Talladega Nights is one of my favorite comedies of all time. Step Brothers, I'm not a huge fan of, but I think those two are really funny in it at times. So they have great comedic chemistry. This is like the third movie I think I believe that they've starred together. Sorry, my ring light keeps going off and on, so I'll try to keep it on as long as I can here. But it might go dark here pretty soon. Yeah, so it seems like, wow, how could you miss with this duo, with this subject matter? In fact, I remember they first started talking about this movie, it was going to be a different cast, but I always thought this sounds like this could be a good movie. And so I went to the theater to watch this, and man, it was the unfunniest movie like I've seen in the theater. It's one of the worst movie experiences I've ever had, where you're watching it and it's like you're 15, maybe 10, 15 minutes in, and nothing's been funny. You haven't laughed once, and you're thinking, okay, I should be laughing at some point in the first 10, 15 minutes. A comedy should make you laugh. That's the whole basis of a comedy. So after about 15 minutes, I was like, wow, is this going to be a bad movie? Because I'm so far not getting into this movie at all. The jokes are not landing. But I'm like, okay, maybe they'll turn it around here pretty soon. Surely something funny will happen. It's like, nope, 30 minutes later, whatever. I'm like, oh, wow, they still haven't said anything funny. In fact, there's really stupid jokes here that are not working. The story's not working. And I thought about leaving. Like maybe 45 minutes in the movie, I just thought, man, this movie's terrible. And I thought, should I stay and watch this movie? And I've never left a movie before in my life. And still to this day, I really never left, at least on my own, I've never left a movie on my own. I don't know why. I just feel like once I pay for the ticket, I feel like I need to see this movie out, give it its fair shake. You know, even though the truth is, after you pay the ticket and you leave, it doesn't matter really. You already paid the ticket. I don't think I'm gonna get my money back. But yeah, this is the closest I've ever considered like leaving a movie, because it was just so not funny and it was really hard. It was hurting me just watching. I was like, man, I'm in pain watching this movie. But I stuck it out thinking, oh, maybe something funny will happen. But no, the whole movie didn't laugh once, and the jokes were just horrible. And there's all these stupid, I mean, it was just stupid. The characters are stupid. The plot was stupid. Nothing worked for this movie, and it wasn't even really a good spoof of Sherlock Holmes at all. And I don't know, and John C. Reilly and they kind of played this Will Ferrell Sherlock Holmes is kind of stupid, and the John C. Reilly is more the smarter one and maybe the better detective of the two. They kind of went for that, but I don't know, even the chemistry between the two actors didn't work that well. And I guess I don't have time to go really too much into it. Just say it was one of the unfunniest comedies I've ever seen, and one of the worst experiences in the movie theater. So definitely don't check out Holmes and Watson. In fact, I read that they thought about putting this on streaming. I think they knew this was going to be a bad movie, and it bombed at the box office, of course. But I think they thought they might even put it out on like Netflix or something like that, and they probably should have instead of putting it on the theater. But anyways, yeah. Number 10, Holmes and Watson. Number 9, we're going to go back a little bit farther in the 1970s, I believe. Yeah, probably early 70s. And this is a musical based off of a album I actually really like. And the movie is called Tommy, which is based off of the album Tommy by The Who, which I have in my record collection. And I've always been a fan of Tommy, the musical. It's a rock opera. Who is one of my favorite bands. And yeah, and it tells a story. The whole album tells the story of this Tommy who's deaf, blind, and dumb, but he becomes really good at pinball, and the family keeps trying to figure out why he can't. There's no reason why he can't see or hear. Like there's nothing physically keeping him from it. It's like a mental block, and they finally break the mental block, and then he starts a religious cult basically at the end. So it's a weird storyline, but it's good music. The movie is just weird, and it's a bad reputation of this story. It's not really a good story anyway, so I don't think we really need a movie. But the movie they brought us, it definitely was very experimental. It's part of this 1970s, I feel like, very out there experimental movie. And yeah, it was just too weird. And they brought in special guests in, like Elton John comes in and sings Pinball Wizard, which is fine. Tina Turner, I think, sings Acid Queen. But then they bring Jack Nicholson in as a doctor, and he sings one of the songs, and Jack Nicholson cannot sing. It ruins the song because Jack Nicholson starts singing. You're like, oh my gosh, why did they bring in Jack Nicholson and he can't sing? It was horrible. Also, like one of the main characters actually even can't sing, and he sings a couple times, and you're like, oh my god, this guy cannot sing. So it's such a horrible doing all that. The mother, now I'm forgetting her name, Margaret. She's a famous actress from the like 60s period, really good looking actress. Now I'm forgetting her name, Margaret something. Anyway, she gets an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress for the role, which is beyond me. But the most famous part is she's like watching TV or something like that, and like chocolate pudding or something like that comes out of the TV, and like, you know, she's like swimming in chocolate pudding. It has nothing to do with the story. It's not in the album, of course. There's nothing about chocolate pudding. It's just the weirdest scene. It made no sense. And again, it was like just these writers, directors, just probably on drugs or something. They're like, hey, how about we do this? This has never been done before. This would be a cool scene. And you watch it and you go, that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, it is just badly directed and written, and acting, I mean, mostly it was not good, except for Roger Daltrey, I think, does fine as the lead. He's the lead singer of The Who, and he plays the main character of Tommy. And he doesn't do a terrible job at it, to be honest, and he sings really well. So some of the songs are good, but man, they did such a really bad job. It's such a weird movie. So Tommy at number 9. Number 8 is an Oscar-nominated movie. And there's so many movies I could put here, and this movie kind of represents all of the not all of them, but a lot of the Oscar-nominated movies that for some reason get nominated for Best Picture and are just the horrible subject matters, really boring, and just really depressing. And I don't get why critics love these movies, and I can't imagine regular people would like this movie. And it's called Amour. Amour is a maybe Italian movie. I forget. It's a foreign movie, so it's in a foreign language. It got nominated. I can't remember. This is maybe 10 years ago. I don't know. It got nominated for Best Picture and Best Actress, the main actress. And the story, and so that's why I watched it, because I watch movies that get nominated for Oscars. So I was like, okay, I'll check this movie out. It got nominated for, you know, some big Oscars. And I'm going to spoil the movie, so I'm sorry, I'll spoil it, because I have to spoil it to tell you how much I hated this movie. I mean, first off, the movie is about this old married couple, you know, like in their 70s or something, I don't know, retired married couple, and the wife, she gets like ALS or something, or cerebral palsy, or some kind of, you know, where she can't walk anymore, and she's starting to lose her functions, and you see her kind of deteriorate during the movie, where she's struggling to walk, and then she has to use you know, maybe a walker's cane or something. And then you see her, she's in a wheelchair, and she can't stand up anymore, and the husband has to take care of her, and it's, you know, really difficult, him taking care of her, and as she's getting worse and worse, and to the point where he has to feed her, and he has to take her to the bathroom, and all this, you know, all the horrible stuff that happens in real life. But we're seeing it in a movie, which I'm like, I don't need to see this in a movie. This is a horrible, depressing, you know, situation. And it's just a very boring movie, and it's in another language, which I'm not a fan of watching movies in other languages, to be honest. But yeah, it was a tough one to watch. And it's tough to watch, yeah, this person, I watch it all the time. I work in healthcare, so I see old people all the time, you know, get worse and worse, you know. It's a horrible thing to watch. And there's even like one point where he's like trying to get her to drink water, but she's not drinking it, and he slaps her, and I'm like, what? He just slapped his wife because his wife won't drink water. It's like, that's horrible. Like, this is not fun to watch. Anyways, and this is where I'm gonna spoil the movie, and this is why I hate the movie so much, and why I put it in my top 10 worst movies of all time experiences. It ends with him smothering her with a pillow. Yeah. She's, you know, dying from this, you know, situation, this disease or whatever she has, and she's, you know, not able to move really, and she has to be taken care of, you know, 100%. And so he decides, you know what, I can't watch my wife, you know, go through this anymore, and I'm just gonna kill her with a pillow. So that's how the movie ends. It ends with her husband killing her, smothering her with a pillow, and that's the end of the movie. What a great ending to a really depressing, boring movie. It's go, oh wow, nice. Now we get murder, you know. And it's just the worst ending to a movie I've ever seen. It's so depressing. It's like I don't know why they made it, why anybody would want to watch it, or why it got nominated for anything. It's just I would say, man, if you don't want to be depressed, don't watch this movie. Amour at number 8 on my list. Number 7 is this is one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen. From an actor who I've liked at times, but at times he makes really horrible movies. And the movie is called The Ridiculous Six, which is starring Adam Sandler, and I'm sure he produced it. And I don't know if he had any in the writing or whatever, but he was a big part of making this movie. And this became it's funny, Adam Sandler, he's made some pretty horrible movies out there, and there's some movies I actually kind of enjoy, even though they're stupid. But he kind of got in this thing where he was making movies only for Netflix, it seemed like. And still to this day, it seemed like he's constantly... In fact, he just came out with a movie recently, The Spaceman, which I heard is not very good. And he had some other ones I haven't seen, like QB Halloween, I heard is horrible, and I haven't seen that. And it's getting harder and harder to watch Adam Sandler. He just... I haven't seen Uncut Gems, even though I know people say he's really good in that, but it looks like a boring movie. I like Adam Sandler back in I was a big fan of Adam Sandler on Saturday Night Live, a big fan of his, Happy Gilmore and The Waterboy, Billy Madison. He came out with some real classic comedies in the 90s, even though they were really stupid. Let's be honest, they're all stupid. But I like stuff like 51st Dates, Bedtime Stories, I think is actually pretty good. He's put out some good stuff here and there. But Ridiculous Six is probably the worst one I've seen. Came out on Netflix, when he started making all these Netflix movies. And it's kind of based on the Magnificent Seven, but it's Adam Sandler trying to find his dad. Doesn't know his real dad, and so he goes out to find his dad, and he finds all these people that are like his half brothers, because his dad evidently had kids by different women. So they all, I think if I remember right, they all have different moms, but they have the same dad or something like that. So he finds 5 other individuals who are like his brothers. They have the same dad, but different moms. And I forget exactly why he's out to find it, but he was raised by a Native American tribe. And so he's supposed to be like Native American, I guess, kind of. And this was like, I remember like a lot of Native Americans were very upset about this, because it is kind of degrading towards Native Americans, I should say, or not degrading, but offensive towards Native Americans. I would kind of agree with that. But anyways, the jokes are just horrible. It's just some of the worst jokes. It's cringy jokes. None of it's funny. It's just the worst. It's the worst comedy. I mean, I said Holmes and Watson. This is even worse. It's just the worst kind of comedy you can make. And I have another comedy actually worse, but it's still just a horrid comedy, grossed out humor, very immature humor. He brings in the usual people like Rob Schneider's horrible. He has this, again, it's all, very immature, fart jokes and bowel jokes and the kind of jokes I absolutely hate, I don't think are funny in these kind of movies. And yeah, Schneider's one of and Schneider makes terrible movies too, and he's always terrible in a lot of stuff he's in. And this is maybe his worst performance. He's just horrible in this as one of his half brothers. But they're all pretty bad. They even bring in other actors that aren't really actors that are terrible here, if I remember right. Billy Ray Cyrus, I think, plays a character, and he's a terrible actor as well. And the story really goes nowhere at the end. I think they find their father, but he's like a bad guy or something. I don't know. I can't remember much except that Taylor Lautner's in it. Taylor Lautner's terrible. It's just so much horribleness in this movie. At number 7, Ridiculous Six. At number 6, I have another, it's a spoof comedy. It's part of there's a lot of bad spoof comedies, and this is the worst one of them. I guess it represents all the bad spoof comedies that came out, basically by the same group. But this one's called Meet the Spartans, which is a spoof of 300, basically, and they spoof other stuff, but mostly it's 300, But they made a bunch of these. called like epic movie. What were they? They a superhero movie or something like that. I forget. They took all these different genres and just slapped, you know, a name and said something movie, and it's a spoof of those kind of movies. Kind of like Scary Movie, but it's not the same people who did Scary Movie. But they took all these different genres. Like epic movie took on like the fantasy genre, like Chronicles of Narnia. Superhero, of course, took, you know, trying to spoof superhero movies. You know, and you got like Not Another Teen Movie, which is probably even a little bit better, but not great. But there's a lot of these spoof movies that they came out, and to be honest, I've only seen parts of a lot of these movies. Meet the Spartans was one to actually watch. I actually remember I rented this movie at Blockbuster, and me and my sister watched it. And I don't know why. I think I thought the commercial looked funny. I love spoof movies. In fact, I want to do a top 10 spoof movies at some point, 'cause I do love parody spoof movies. I mean, it's a genre I've always really enjoyed. So I guess I gave it a chance because like, oh, it's a spoof movie. I love spoof movies. You know, let's give it a chance. And the commercial, the trailer looked funny. Anyway, so I got it, and oh my gosh, it's again another one where like the humor does not work, and it's just really gross out, cringy humor that it's just painful to watch. Where it's like, and they try to spoof so many different things that are of that time that making sense now. Let's say, very specific to that era. And yeah, the jokes just were terribly gross out, immature again, just like I said the last movie. I hate the gross, immature humor, and that's what this had. And it was just the worst. I think all those other movies are probably pretty bad too. I've heard really bad things about all the other types, but this is just the one that I remember spending money, renting this, watching it with my sister, and me and her turned to each other and go, wow, that was like the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Like, that was painful to watch, like I said. I repeat myself, but it's true. It's just like almost painful to the mind to watch it. But yeah, that's number 6, Meet the Spartans. So I'll probably end there since I'm kind of coming on 20 minutes. So this will be part 1. I'll have to do a part 2 another time. So that's 10 through 6 of my worst movies I've ever seen. So please feel free to comment if you've seen these 5 movies. What did you think? Are they as bad as I'm saying they are? I'd love to hear anybody else talk about them. And if you haven't seen them, good for you. I hope you don't. Anyways, that's my thoughts on that. And just thank you to anybody who's watching this. Thank you for liking it. And thank you all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate you all, and I hope you have a good day.